Hello everyone, this is our second episode of It's Mental podcast. Today our guest is Nir Gottleid. He is a Jewish comedian based in Berlin, Germany. He is famous for his dark humor because that's his mechanism to get out of his tension. He lives with depression and anxiety, probably also eating disorder. However, he believes that he is superiorly intelligent, thus he refused to get any treatment. Today, I had a conversation with him about our journey, how we start to do stand-up comedy, and our other coping mechanism. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Everyone, this is It's Mental podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Nir. What's your last name? Stage name?
Gottleid.
Yeah, Nir Gottleid. Yeah, we are today.
You see that we just talked about the fact that nobody can say knows my name, and I like that.
Do you want to know what I normally refer you when you are not around? When not with
is it
comedians.
The fat Jew?
Yeah.
but fat Jew?
Yeah.
But there's more than one fat Jew.
Yes.
Adam is fatter.
Yeah, now two Jews are getting famous, so you are not the only fat Jew anymore. It's for audience, because I have some friends, they don't know all the names, so it's easier to call you fat Jew. But now two Jews getting famous, you are not so distinctive anymore.
I'm not getting famous at all. So they're gonna be the real fat Jew, and I'm gonna be just the lame second fat Jew.
No,
I'm gonna be an also fat Jew.
You'll be famous soon.
Yeah, but I don't think for the right reasons.
What reason do you think you'll be famous for?
Murdering a hooker, I guess. I don't know. Something very in character, I'm sure.
Nir, please don't say things like this. One day they might use it against you. So no saying shit like this.
So, for the record, I have never, ever, 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 ever murdered a hooker.
Okay, cool. That's nice to know. So, what we are going to talk about today?
Apparently, not murdering hookers.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is your podcast. You tell me.
Yeah, today we are going to talk about staying alive.
That's hard.
I know. When I started this podcast, I immediately think, I have to do an episode with you. Because you understand depression so much.
I don't know if that's a compliment. Oh, Nir, you know so much about being sad.
Yes, that's.
I also know things about being anxious and angry.
Mm-hmm.
Separately, not like combined anxiety, anger kind of thing. Although, that too. But anger and anxiety.
I think you have a very good combination of being angry and depressed at the same time. You have a joke about you take care of yourself. Do you want to talk this joke?
No, that's not the forum for it. But
okay.
Come see me, and then you'll see me talk about suicide.
Yeah,
but I don't know the essence of it. I think I don't want to go into the joke itself, but I think that the interesting issue that it explores is that to a large amount of people, self-destruction causes joy.
How? What do you mean?
It's true.
Mm-hmm. Why it causes joy?
I mean, think about it. Even like, not just for people who have depression or anxiety, but in general, we as humans participate in activities. I'm sorry, I dropped a tissue. I didn't realize I'm going to be filmed. I'm wearing my poop slippers. Look.
Oh, that's so cute.
Think about what a lot of people find as indulgent, as a treat for themselves. Oh, I'm going to have McDonald's because it's a treat for myself. Like I'm rewarding myself. Ice cream, smoking. People tend to reward themselves with things that are bad for them. Yeah. We are the only animal in the animal kingdom that does something this stupid. You're not going to see a monkey succeed in mating and then bang its head into a tree. But we do that all the time as humans. I think that's fascinating. Don't you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think most of the time we reward ourselves with something not healthy, not good for us. However, I would say I had eating disorders for majority time of my life, but I'm getting better now. For example, I had a major episode 2-3 weeks ago, and at first I couldn't eat for like a week, and suddenly I want to eat as much as possible. And I was just staying home eating all day. But instead of eating pizza, I was eating yogurt with mango. See? That's an improvement.
Very good. That is an improvement. But yeah, that's true. But you'd still consider pizza a treat, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's weird to me, like that psychologically we consider things that are bad for us good for us mentally.
So and you said you have anxiety, stress, depression. Have you ever got diagnosed?
I assume I have them. No, hell no. I'm not going to go see a psychiatrist. I don't trust the fuckers.
So you assume you have it. How do you know you have it if you never get diagnosed?
I don't think I don't know that I have it on a clinical way, but you know, I get it. I get depressed. I get anxious. It's on the spectrum. Does it rise to the level of medical intervention? I wouldn't know. I would assume that to a certain degree, yes. I think that the level of medical intervention, one rises to the level of medical intervention when one seeks medical help. So I'm not at that stage yet. Maybe it's because I'm stubborn. Maybe because I don't have it as bad as others.
Since when you start to feel like you might be depressed?
What, like I've been probably struggling with issues around that thing since my teens.
And is there a good time and bad time?
Yeah. There are good times. There are bad times. It's closely correlated with levels of stress and the amount of control I have over my life, like how many things are happening outside my control. Like last year was particularly bad in the summer because, for instance, I was about to lose my apartment due to some illegal shenanigans by my landlord. I ended up basically staying in this apartment, but the impact of having such a stressful effect really put me in a state of mind I've yet to completely emerge from. Lately, it's becoming better, but just a complete apathy. Like it's, you know, what fucking difference? What do I do matter? But I've gone through some bad and good times, right? I mean, keep in mind, like from a personal background, I moved around a lot in the past 10 years, 15 years or so. I've uprooted my life at least 3 times. At least 2 times, right? Completely just moved continents and lost every contact with everything that I knew before and started over again and then did it again. And that is, it's not easy to go through that kind of transition without a safety network and a support network. And the irony of that kind of thing is when you need those people the most is exactly when you move away from them, right? So, so it is definitely a shock to the system. You doing it over and over again. And rebuilding the support network time and time again, because as much as I hate human beings, I need them.
What's your motivation to completely restart 3 times?
I got bored.
But don't you need the people around you, or is it because you realized you had a system around you, but they don't make you happy, so you kind of want to escape?
Doesn't even enter the factors, really, honestly, which is maybe a mistake on my part, but it doesn't even enter my consideration how my support network is around me. I moved for education. I moved for jobs. I moved for other personal reasons of trying to get even closer to my family. But it's not like, oh, I'm bored of my friends, but I get bored of my lifestyle and my life, and I start over. In Israel, I was an engineer. In the United States, I went to do something else. And here in Germany, I'm doing things I didn't expect, like this podcast. I wouldn't have imagined that I'm going to be performing and doing comedy 5 years ago. It would have been ludicrous for me to even consider. When did you start to do comedy? I did it a few times when I was in the U.S., but when I say a few, I mean a handful, like 10 over a span of 5 years, over a span of 7 years, maybe 20 over a span of 7 years. Not really often at all. And then when I moved to Berlin, so that would be November 2016 timeframe, I started doing it, and that's when I got hooked in the Berlin scene. Wow! So you only actually started in 2016? Oh, I lost you. Could you say that again? So you actually only started comedy around 2016? 17 even, at the beginning of 2017. Yes. Oh my God, holy shit, that's crazy, because I think I started in June 2018, and when I started, you were already like a amazing comedian, like a big star. Oh, so, thank you. So perfect. Big star. Oh, honey, nobody in Berlin is a big star. Nobody in Berlin is ever going to be a big star. We are a city of mediocrity, and you know it. Hey, Nir, you need to know, when I started comedy 2 weeks after I discovered what stand-up is. So in my eyes, I didn't know Dave Chappelle. I didn't know anyone. So the Berlin Universe is the only stand-up comedy I knew. That's a sad. Oh, thank you. But that is a very sad universe to know. Expand your horizon, because there are much better people than the people in here. I disagree, though. I think there's better comedians somewhere else in the world, but I don't think they are better because they are more talented people. It's just they are doing comedy longer time, and there's more supported and the industry around it. I think Berlin is just new, and I firmly believe soon we'll have an industry here, and there will be lots of famous comedians. Could be. Yeah. That could be, but your point is very, very valid. But success and forget about even success. Quality isn't just a function of talent; it's a function of the ecosystem as well. And Berlin's ecosystem is still in its growth phase. It hasn't stabilized. It hasn't matured. It would be interesting to see what happens here in the next few years, because when you think about it, kind of an English comedy scene or industry in a German-speaking country is kind of an odd bird. This shouldn't happen, right? But it is. So it's fascinating for me to look at it unfold, like alongside the social dynamics of a city like Berlin, which attracts all of continental Europe to it, in English being the common denominator language, right? Almost everybody in the scene, English is their second language. It is not their first. Yeah, that's true. So it is an oddity, because we are predominantly in a language-centric form of entertainment and art, right? We're not painting. We are using language. It's rhetoric, like George Carlin said, right? So it is weird. So I'm enjoying looking at it just because it's such a curiosity.
Yeah. So you are doing comedy like right now 4 years around?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Coming up on the 4-year line mark. I don't know. Corona has completely fucked up everything that I've done. So I feel like I haven't been. I mean, I really didn't jump as much on the bandwagon of the reopening. I still kept my shows closed. I haven't run my show since March, and I miss it. And I've done mics only here and there. I didn't like resume circuiting full time, even in the summer when the circuit was kind of back on form. So I'm really kind of stepped out of it. I've phased out of it. I'm not even thinking about it as much.
When you do comedy, do you feel it has impact on your mental health? Does it help?
I do. It's an outlet. It's I talk about, this is probably why we're talking today. I talk a lot about mental issues. I talk a lot of I do a lot of suicide jokes and stuff like that. Yeah. And these are dark thoughts that are rummaging around my head. These are not jokes that come out of nowhere, right? Like the I have a joke where I have a dialogue with my brain, right? Which is like, when you go to sleep, your brain wakes you up and goes, "Hey, Nir, why don't you go kill yourself?" Right? And the joke about this is that, these suicidal thoughts have been in my head really since I was 15, 14, right? On a nightly basis. And at this point, they're part of me. I'm used to them. They're used to me, right? The joke goes kind of like, the brain was like, "Hey, Nir, tonight's the night. Let's go kill yourself." And I go, "Yeah, you know what, brain? I'm tired. We haven't finished watching this season of Criminal Minds on Amazon Prime. Let's not do this." And brain goes, "You know what, Nir? You're right. It's been a long day. You can always kill yourself tomorrow." And you know what? This is basically sometimes an internal dialogue I have. You know what I mean? And so, doing this on stage is cathartic. It's giving an outlet to all these dark thoughts that are usually not something that you have a water cooler conversation about at work. And like, "Hey, dude, how's your day?" "Oh, nice. Wife and kids okay?" "Yeah. So listen, last night I had a vivid fantasy about hanging myself with an electrical wire." That's not a conversation you usually have at work. And I do, but I'm special that way. Doing it on stage is an outlet, and it's also validation, because positioning it as something funny and having people laugh at it means that they identify with it to a certain degree. Yes. They wouldn't have laughed. It was completely foreign to them. So it's nice to know that you're not alone. Laughter is to a certain degree commiseration. Yeah. Right.
I feel being able to talk about the topic already helped me tremendously. Because in the past, it was all the shame around it, and it beat me down even more. And now I'm able to talk about it and make joke about it. The shame went away, and the rest is only sadness I need to deal with.
Yeah, and to a larger extent, even if you brought, that's why I like dark comedy, right? And I talk, I do very heavy subjects deliberately, and when you make something funny and people laugh at it, they still think about it. Number one, and number two, talking about something difficult in a funny way is still talking about something. In fact, it enables the conversation much, much, much more. I do a ton of Holocaust jokes, and you know what? People think about the Holocaust. People actually are educated by it, and if not, it's gotten the top of mind. I've explained a point of view that would have been extremely difficult to explain outside the context of making it funny, and brought people closer to my point of view, at least hopefully, right? And the same thing, that's exactly it. The shame goes away because the context of this isn't shameful.
Mm-hmm. I want to say something because I'm Chinese, so I didn't have many history knowledge before I start to do comedy.
Don't worry, you guys are doing this in the present, so you'll have that history knowledge in 20 years after they discover the horrors that they're doing in Xinjiang.
I am still having a Chinese passport, so let's redirect the conversation.
Okay, yeah. You can censor that out and just beep what I said. That would be even funnier.
you know, like most of my initial knowledge about the Holocaust are from the Jewish comedians in Berlin, and then I start to look more the Holocaust information. Yeah.
and then you were like, oh, holy shit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this fucking thing happened right here, right? Yeah. See, so it does work to a certain degree.
Yeah. For example, like Chris, he has a joke about he has family in Mexico. He's German. He has family in Mexico. It's because they were too poor to buy a ticket to Argentina.
Yeah, that requires some research sometimes.
I didn't understand it at that time, and I had to ask a Jewish friend to explain it to me. But that's a good education.
Funny how so many Argentinians are blonde and have blue eyes.
So what made you to do comedy? How you realize this is something you want to do?
Did I realize this is something I want to do? That's another question. The first time I've ever done it is I have an MBA, which is, I know most people find surprising because I'm the least MBA person you can imagine. And in our class, there was a guy, Dave. I'm pretty certain it was Dave, that was a comedian before business school or has done comedy before business school. And he did like an open mic for people from the class. And I just joined because, this was a time of much drinking. And I really enjoyed the writing process. In fact, I still have jokes that I have written 10 years ago back in that session. Some of them I'm still using. Some of them are not great. But, I still have them somewhere. And then that was it. And then I moved to Austin. And again, no, same reason I did this in Berlin, honestly. I didn't know anybody. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm bored. And I didn't get hooked. I did not like it very much. The scene in Austin was unpleasant to work there. It was, these are exactly the type of open mics that you see in the movies. Like, nobody's listening. Everybody's in the audience. There's other comics waiting for their turn. You're in a bar in the middle of nowhere. People are just there to talk and you're just talking over them. Not pleasant experiences. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do it. And then I moved to Berlin, and again, new city, didn't know anybody. It's actually kind of a funny story because I found a flyer for Adorable Idiots.
Oh.
And I went to I vividly recall how I got to Z-Bar even. I was staying in the sublet in the Friedrichshain area, and I took the M10 and I walked from Nordbahnhof, which is not the ideal way to get there now that I know how to get there. And I got to Z-Bar, and I'm like, I'm here for the comedy show. And Goonie was there, Gunther. And he's like, there is no comedy show today. And I'm like, here's the flyer. And he's like, yeah, the show is on Sunday. And I'm like, yeah, it's today. And he's like, today's Monday. And I'm like, oh. And then Goonie said, well, there's another show at Cosmic Comedy on Monday. Come check it out. You can go check it out. Mm-hmm. So I went to Cosmic that night, met Dar for the first time, met Neil for the first time, went to see the show, sat in the seats. I'm pretty sure this is the last time that I went to Cosmic and I sat in the seats, in the front row with the audience. This almost never happened since. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this isn't an open mic. This doesn't feel like an open mic. People are laughing. People are watching the show. The comedians are actually, most of them aren't sucking. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I'm like, hey, Dar, could anybody sign up? And he's like, yeah, just sign up with the Cosmic. And he's like, have you done it before? I'm like, shit, I did it in the US a few times. So just sign up. And I'm like, cool. So I came and I did jokes that I had from the US. And then I got hooked. And then I just started miking daily, like, everybody else. And I would imagine that probably coming to Berlin and seeing how much fun it can be in Cosmic is probably what got me hooked. And I always told Dar, dude, you don't sell comedy tickets as much as you sell drugs to comedians in the form of the high that you get from a really happy audience, right? Like this, you're a pusher. And he's like, and he does create exactly that environment where someone who's not confident or new to the game can actually enjoy it and see the upside of success rather than the stinging pain of the inevitable failure that they will encounter later.
Yeah, I think so. Like at the beginning when I started to do comedy, Cosmic was my favorite place because I always get big laughs and it's such a confidence boost. And it's a really, really good way to start.
Fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And they've built a fantastic show there. They really have. They built a show that the crowd enjoys. The people come to see it and leave happy. And at the end of the day, we are in the entertainment business. We are in the hospitality business.
Yeah, everyone is happy, like in that show. Like I never been there and see a crowd who's not happy. And so comedy, now you are in Berlin doing comedy for 4 years. And besides comedy, do you have other way to cope with your mental stuff?
Well, I'm definitely not doing drugs, and exercise when I can get it, I find is extremely helpful, but I'm too lazy to do it, and it's fucking cold outside, and I don't want to. I find that activities that let me focus on things for a while and ignore the outside world really help. So when I play guitar, I program, anything that kind of makes me look up and go, holy shit, is it 9 p.m. already? Is a good thing, right? Because comedy is gone, I'm going to try to get back to writing because I do need, the creative outlet is really helpful.
Yeah.
Even without an audience, it's still cathartic. Like even writing jokes that are the dark thoughts in your brain and filing them away for later is sad. If I laugh at it, then that's coping enough, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I do miss life resuming normalcy. It's not been fun.
How do you define normal? Like Corona without Corona?
Yes, that's the key last denormalizing factor in my lifetime today. So what made you focus on that? Because I know that you ran the show with Anna a few weeks back, a couple of months back, and that was tremendous fun. And I know this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart. Why did you feel that you should tackle this with comedy, and what do you get out of it? How does that help?
I think it's because how I started comedy, like in June 2018, I was very depressed. Like I was thinking about suicide every day, and that's when I discovered comedy. The first show I went was with a Tinder date at Lina's show at Last Stand. And before I went, I was exactly thinking the kind of a stereotype in movies, like no one is laughing and super awkward. But I went there, it was super funny. Like the comedians were doing great. And I realized when I got out of the show, my face was hurting because I laughed so much that night, and I realized, I still have the ability to feel happy. When I see the comedy show, I feel happy. So it's just like a drug. I constantly want to do it. And after that show, it just doesn't get out of my head. Every day I was thinking about it. And 2 weeks later, I went back to Lina's show, did my first mic. And just like you said, how you feel, like it's addictive. I cannot stop. And it's how I got out of the depression. Also,
it's a drug.
Yeah. And also, with depression, it's always not always. I think for lots of people, it's also connected with low self-esteem and being harsh on yourself. At least for me, it's the case. So no matter what I achieve in life, I always feel I'm not good enough. That's how my culture works. We always beat people down to push them to work more. And I was brought up in this way. So with comedy, it helped me a lot because the laughter you get, you cannot deny it. So even in my mind, I'm thinking I'm doing horrible. I'm shitty. I'm not good at all. But then I listen back the clips. I hear the sound, the laughter. I know. I was too hard to myself. I was tricking myself. I have to believe that I was good. So for me, it's a way to see things more objectively, to see where is the actual reality perceived by everyone, and where is the reality I perceive. Then over time I realized there's a constant gap. So slowly I learned how to adjust my own perception. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. But I think that you also raise an interesting point because it's not just cultural. I mean, maybe in your case it is only cultural, but there is a certain personality type that is constantly judging themselves to a higher and higher bar. And I clearly, I've done it. My peer group is, my peer group that I consider myself, because these are my childhood friends, have done some spectacular things. And I view myself as nobody, as worthless. It is objectively not true, right? But everything I do, I know that I could have done better. And it is very taxing to live like that, right? It's kind of low self-esteem is ironically a function. It happens sometimes when you have a high valuation of self-worth, if that makes sense. There is a combination of high achieving and low self-esteem, because if you have low self-esteem, then in theory you shouldn't be shooting for much, right? But there's kind of the opposite that involves, where you're like, I should be making spaceships that fly to the moon at this stage, and look at me, I'm sitting around with a cat in the middle of an apartment in Berlin, right? And I do think I've thought a lot about how that also looks at anxiety, for example, right? And I find myself having to correlate this kind of issue of high achievement and low self-esteem is something that happens to people of above average intelligence more often than not. And the same thing with anxiety, right? You can't be anxious if you don't have doubt. Anxiety is doubt. And doubt is the marker of curiosity. You always think that there's something different. You always try to improve. You always second guess, because that's how progress happens. So in essence, if you're curious and you're trying to research stuff, you're in a constant state of anxiety, because by definition, nothing is solid, right? This is also has been interesting to me, right? It's also a combination of that low self-esteem that kind of creeps in, and you feel completely worthless, and because all the accomplishments that you have had, they mean nothing.
Yeah, I want to continue about why I start to do this show. I think, as I said, it's how I started comedy. Depression pushed me to discover stand-up comedy. Then stand-up comedy helped me to get out of the depression. So it's been a very large part of me, and it's been a very constant source of happiness in my life. Since I've been in therapy since then, and in the last 1 year, I start to unpack lots of traumatic memories I had in the past. I start to unpack memories I forgot ages ago when I was 3, 4, 5, and I realized comedy really can help me to talk about those memories, and by talking about it, it helps me a lot. Another reason. So because of this, I always want to share this experience with others. I believe that if I can make it, I was dying and now I'm not dying anymore. So if I can break it through and have a normal life, I just want to use comedy as a way to tell more people who's probably in the same similar situation as I was in 3 years ago, because I know at that time, no matter how many people told me there's hope, there's light, you will have a enjoyable life. At that time, it's just very hard to imagine it, because everything was so shit. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't picture it. So now I believe it. I see the other side of the tunnel. I see I can be happy. So I just want to use it as a way to talk with people and let them know it's possible, and just try harder. And this is the charity side of it. And the more self-motivated reason is that I had a major breakdown again, like 3-4 weeks ago. It was the most severe one I had since 3 years ago, and this time it was because work. I achieved a lot on my professional life in the past 1.5 years. It's beyond my imagination, but one thing happened, make me really upset and disappointed. And I look at myself. All I could fear is disgust, upsetting, and disappointment. And I was in an episode that I couldn't eat, I couldn't talk, I couldn't think about anything. So now I have to take some time off from work again. I know if I don't do anything at home.
I'm sorry, I lost you. Now I have to take some, and then you broke up.
Now I have to take some time off from work again. So I kind of feel like I'm a failure, because I always use myself as a success story to tell others you can make it even after depression. But now I fear again. So I fear blame myself. But on the other hand, I think it's not that bad. At least this time I don't have suicidal thoughts. And as I knew 3 years ago, comedy saved me. So I know if I keep doing comedy, put more effort in comedy right now, I can get out of this breakdown faster.
So you're basically going on stage.
Yeah.
Only in a different way.
Yeah, in different way, like talking about things I really care about, and connect with people with more experience on the same thing. So that's my reason to do it. And also, I think because of Corona, right now, mental health is a hot topic. So I see a business opportunity too.
Oh, aren't you fancy? No, but I definitely see your point. It's an outlet. You know what I've been doing? I've been writing apps for Alexa that are basically horrible dark jokes, right? Like because I needed to go somewhere. I haven't even published it yet, but I've I can give you a demonstration if you want. But I've done that because I needed this out there somewhere, right? It's kind of the curse of the creatives, I think. That you have something that's burning inside and needs to go out. Otherwise, you just it makes you go bananas. Yeah. I do. You raised something interesting earlier, and I think that there's a danger there. You mentioned that getting the laughs essentially validated a sense of self-worth, right? Or helped validate. Yes. I think there's a dark side to this, and I've seen that happen a lot, especially with young people, and especially with people that don't have. You actually do, but I'm curious your thoughts about that. But don't have other things going for them in their life in terms of accomplishment or achievement in profession. People who just throw themselves into comedy and are living and dying by it, and I think the risk is that attaching your sense of self-worth to your success in comedy is very dangerous. Yeah. The minute it becomes your sense of self, the minute you define yourself as a comedian, then I've seen people who have some severe emotional issues as a result of that, because when it goes bad, they're just inconsolable, and when it goes well, they're assholes because they're virtually on a cocaine high. And I'm curious. It's exactly what it is. It's psychologically, psychiatrically. I mean, it's a dopamine high. That's what cocaine is. Yes. You know. I'm curious to your thoughts about how do you balance it? Because when it goes well, you can use it, but what happens when it doesn't? To be honest, I don't know how to answer this question because so far with comedy, I'm quite. I went quite smooth. Like you've never had a bad show. You've never bombed.
Of course, I had bad shows, but because I do when there's no corona, I do shows so often. Like for example, I had a bad set. I feel depressed. Then 45 minutes later, I'm on another stage. Then I killed. Yeah. And of course, at the beginning, this kind of feeling is a bit hard. But after time, I perform so many gigs. Then I know it's normal. You just have a bad night. Yeah.
It's the law of averages, basically. Yeah.
Yes,
it's basically. You know that you're going to have bad nights, but at that point, you know that you've got a track record, and on average, you do well. Right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like life. Like now, at this point, I know I had good times, I had bad times, but when I'm having bad times,
tomorrow's another day.
I know good times will come.
Yep. Tomorrow is another day. Exactly. That's fair. I think, in my case, it helps that I've always tried to have things also outside comedy, right? Just to stave off, so if I have a bad day at work, I at least have comedy to have a good day to fall back on. And if I have a bad day in comedy, then I can look in the positive somewhere else. So to me, it helps kind of that having a diversity of experiences and a diversity of emotional investments. It's like an emotion. It really is a little bit like an emotional portfolio, right?
Yes.
So diversifying the risk, I found helps. Right?
You are like a Berlin open relationship people.
I don't know if it's exactly like an open relationship, although I see the analogy. But you pour so much of your heart and your soul into comedy, right? Into your art. So when it goes bad, it's. Sometimes I feel like it's a reflection on me, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the danger, right?
Yeah. Cool.
You mentioned, by the way, that study that someone did about comedians and mental health. I don't want to read from it, but let me assure you that his conclusion was that we should all be committing suicide by tomorrow morning.
So let's talk about what study is it? How did you get into the study?
Somebody promised a €50 gift card on Facebook somewhere. I sent them a note, pretty much. And there was like a lottery, and I won the €50 gift card, by the way. Wow. I don't know, he said he wants to interview people who are doing comedy about kind of their history and stuff like that. Then I realized that his thesis is that comedy is a result of trauma, and that we're basically all PTSD time bombs waiting to happen. So it was like an interview, and it was an interesting conversation about the power dynamics, about he made some interesting comments about the fact that, and it's not a comment I've considered, possibly because I'm an asshole, about how there is when audiences come to a show, they kind of place themselves in our hands, and they're vulnerable. I've never thought about them as vulnerable and in my hands, and I have control over their feelings. And he kind of positioned that way. I think it's a little bit stretched. Nobody's putting a gun to anybody's head. But I see the point. And I think that kind of, goes to the topic that you're talking about, mental health, because they're receptive. That's the point where people are receptive. So they can kind of, if they come in damaged, there's a way to help mend it, because they are vulnerable to a certain degree.
Yeah, I feel it can be true in some circumstance. For example, if a comic start to make fun of someone, basically the other person just doesn't have any means to attack back.
I don't like that, by the way. I do not like it when comedians make audience members feel bad. There's a difference between making fun of someone and being malicious. Yeah. And I don't like it when sometimes it's an appropriate response to someone who's been heckling or bothering, and you need to shut them down, sure. But there's some people who just sometimes take it a little too far and actually hurt people by trying to get a laugh. And when I really get angry when I see that, because these are people who are coming here to have a nice night, and you just made their night bad. And that's not your job.
Yeah, and that's so much negativity. Like they go home, feel angry, and wake up feeling angry. Why we do that? I have to say, I think
it's just a form of bullying. It's just a form of bullying. It's just people wanting to make themselves feel better by making somebody else feel worse. That's all it is.
I have to say, I think I never have done that ever, because I'm super scared talking with audience. Normally they make me cry.
Really? I don't like to talk to audience, but for a completely different reason. They're boring. What are they going to say? Hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, you're an IT person? Oh, great. My day has been enriched by your profession. like it's not like I'm having a meaningful conversation with them about Foucault. Right?
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes I think you can find some interesting stuff though. By the way, you say you also have anxiety. I never have anxiety. So can you describe what it is, how it feels like, and how it intervenes with your depression?
I would say that I have a very weird form of social anxiety. Like what are they thinking about? Are they talking about me behind their back? There's some elements of anxiety of hypochondria. I just got like a red alert on my phone, and I basically started looking at the source code for the Corona Warn app just to see what the fuck how I didn't meet anybody. What the fuck? Am I dying? I have a thermometer here. So it's these thoughts that come out of nowhere and bother you. That's what it is. It's like it's just nagging. It's constantly doubting everything around yourself. Like, this guy said something. Maybe he's lying to me. No, why would he lie to you? Right.
Let me describe, like, in the past, no, not so much anymore because due to Corona, people don't meet. But in the past, when there's no Corona, I'm really, really scared to go to parties because in a social setting, in a room full of people, I'm really scared I'll be left alone, feeling awkward. And every time people invite me, I almost always cancel. And I really wanted to go, but the last minute I just cannot do it, and I have to cancel it. And does that sound like anxiety?
Maybe to a certain degree. Like the kind of thing is the kind of where you can't do things because you're frozen, because your brain is going, but why is this and why is that, and maybe this and maybe that. And I think that, there's an element to anxiety to what you're describing. Yes, like you're anxious about the concept of meeting people, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm
not afraid of meeting people.
Not the type I have.
Like
you're afraid of what would happen if you were awkward around them.
Yes. I'm looking forward to meet people, but I'm really, really afraid if I'm awkward and I'm left alone, and it makes me super uncomfortable when I'm in a party, the only one being alone, and also like I always feel everyone hates me. For example, when I started to do comedy,
that's very similar to anxiety. Yeah. That's definitely something that I would identify with. Again, I don't know whether it's a textbook case of anxiety, and I am not a psychiatrist, but it's worrying about things that there's no reason to worry about them, right? It's constantly worrying. That was the word I was looking for. Is my cat okay? Yes.
Yeah,
why would she not be okay? She's been there for the past 24 hours. She hasn't done a fucking thing, right? Like, this cat is going to outlive me. Why am I worried? I am.
Cool. So how you had good times, bad times. How do you describe which place you are in? Do you think you are doing good or bad or somewhere in between?
I've had worse. Mm-hmm. I've definitely had better. I'm, like you said, I think Corona has influenced and affected everybody's mental health. I think that isolation gets to you. And if it's not isolation, it's being with other people all the time, which also gets to you, right? So, and, you don't go out, you don't socialize, you get much less exercise. All these things, I think, have a cumulative effect, and they are definitely wearing me down, right? So,
do you ever consider? Please.
It's not easy, I said.
Do you ever consider to look for help?
No.
Why is that?
Because I've never met someone that can actually help me.
But have you ever tried to look for help?
I don't see how anybody would be able to. But like, no, you have to. I have very little respect for mental health science, and I have very little respect for ooey gooey ideas. I need proof. I need to understand how this works, and nobody does. So if you don't know how this works, how the fuck are you going to help me?
But
to me, it's like going to a witch doctor.
Have you tried therapy?
No, also completely don't understand the point. Why should I talk to some random idiot?
I think it's not about why, but the part of talking about it, and for me, I've been to therapy for almost 3 years now. I don't think my therapist actually helped me actively, but by me every week sit there to talk about my feelings, and she is like how do you say, benchmark. She record my mood, how I swing, and what I've talked about in the past, and tell me what's the different perception I have over time, and to have a more objective picture of what's the reality going on.
Yeah, that's why I journal. Not as frequently as I should or want to, but I do journal. I keep a mood. I don't do it very well, but I try to record my mood 3 times a day. Just to see when and if I have slumps and if I can correlate them with something. But I've been rating myself fairly high lately. Certainly higher than I did 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And I talk to myself a lot. So if I needed to have someone just be a recording device, I'll talk into a tape recorder. I just don't. I assume most people are morons, and that is just fact. So I don't understand how someone who is statistically a moron can help.
I think if you are willing to talk to yourself and writing down your feelings, that's already good enough. Oh,
then maybe I'm much more balanced than I thought.
Actually, I think since I knew you, I think now you look much happier than before.
I was miserable for a while at a previous employer. Was not in a happy situation there.
Yeah, I think.
And things have improved.
So great, we all have good times and bad times, but overall, just don't kill yourself.
And tomorrow's another day.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, don't kill yourself is also it's a good motto. Don't kill yourself.
Don't.
Is that how you sign off every show? Hi, everybody, please don't kill yourself, because you should.
No, you shouldn't. No matter how much you think.
No, you shouldn't kill yourself.
Oh, you
shouldn't. You should end the show with a greeting. No, please, audience, and also police that at this point are inevitably listening. Suicide in any shape or form. I said that you should end your show by saying, please don't kill yourself, and have a nice night. Okay. Cool, everyone. Thank you for watching our show. Please don't kill yourself, and have a nice evening. Bye-bye. Good night.